don't you just hate it when a film trailer drops and you just look at it and you go, nah, either because of the action on show, the director attached to it, or even the actors that are making themselves known as the central leads. But sometimes actors can change in these roles, and suddenly the project goes from nah to yeah? Well, let's take a look at them today, as I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 actors who might save upcoming movies. Number 10, Jack Black, Borderlands. Sure to be one of the strangest films hitting cinemas next year, Eli Roth's adaptation of the legendary Borderlands video game already has some pretty prestige acting talents like Cate Blanchett and Jamie Lee Curtis. But while many fans scratch their heads at the left field casting choices of Blanchett, Curtis, and Kevin Hart in the roles of Lilith, Dr. Patricia Tannis, and Roland respectively, there is one absolutely spot-on bout of casting which could prop up the entire movie. Jack Black has been cast to provide the voice of the iconic, irreverent Claptrap. And while his vocal stylings aren't a one-to-one match to the Claptrap from the video games, it's easy to appreciate how Black, himself being a huge gamer, will still do justice to that talkative bot.
You shall not pass!
If the script is even halfway good, Black will be able to tear through the witty quips and hopefully balance out what is undeniably one of the trickiest video game adaptations to date. Number 9, Kenneth Branagh, Death on the Nile. While few are expecting the upcoming adaptation of Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile to be a terrible movie, it does face an uphill struggle doing much business at all given the front and center presence of disgraced star Armie Hammer. Though the mystery thriller was originally delayed due to the pandemic, it received a further push back to February 2022, shortly after allegations of sexual abuse were leveled against the actor. And as the film's trailers make clear, Hammer plays one of the film's most focal characters, making it nigh on impossible for his role to be recast without incurring massive reshoot fees, especially with such a large ensemble cast involved. But just as director-star Kenneth Branagh's hammy Hercule Poirot was the easy highlight of 2017's Murder on the Orient Express, he couldn't help but steal the limelight away from Hammer here. Given the film's huge delay, it's entirely possible Branagh has gone back into the editing room to downplay Hammer's role as much as possible while beefing up his own and even other actors. Considering that Poirot is the statuesque figurehead of the franchise, Branagh has the strongest chance of managing to deflect attention away from his rather problematic co-star. Number 8, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Indiana Jones 5. It's almost too easy to be skeptical about the currently filming 5th Indiana Jones movie, which will star a 79-year-old Harrison Ford in the first entry into the franchise not directed by Steven Spielberg. But the primary source of encouragement isn't that Ford looks as spry as any near-octogenarian has ever been, or that the reliable James Mangold is stepping on to replace Spielberg, or even the presence of Mads Mikkelsen in what is presumably the main villain role. Rather, it's the casting of the great Phoebe Waller-Bridge as the film's female lead, who is apparently a former university student of Indiana's. Given that most fans assumed that the film would revolve around Indy and a younger male protege that he could hand off the franchise to, having him team up with an actress as appealing and whip-smart as Waller-Bridge is an attention-grabbing twist to say the least. It's easy to see how her quick-witted persona could perfectly complement Indy's grouchier mindset, and will hopefully lend the film a totally unique vibe amongst the series, while also helping to usher the iconic Globetrotter into a graceful retirement. Number 7, Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum, Jurassic World Dominion. After Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom so thoroughly jumped the shark, all bets were completely off for the upcoming threequel Dominion, which presumably will focus on a fleet of escaped dinosaurs running wild all over the world. But there is still one small sliver of hope that it might just be a fun victory lap for the IP, and that is the return of Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, and Ian Malcolm. While it's entirely possible that the trio is simply back for quick paycheck cameos similar to Goldblum's brief appearance in Fallen Kingdom, seeing the three beloved characters back together for the first time since the original film will immediately lend the film some added credibility among the fanbase. It's unlikely that we'll see them running around with Chris Pratt, but if they can play a meaningful part in the story while also doing justice to the characters themselves, they are sure to elevate a film that otherwise just invites justifiably low expectations. Number 6. Antonio Banderas, Uncharted. Now, it's always smart to keep your expectations pretty low where video game adaptations are concerned, and though Hollywood is certainly starting to show the media much greater respect these days, we're still awaiting the first truly great movie. And short of it being a shockingly pleasant surprise, it's rather unlikely going to be the upcoming Uncharted movie. Between the decision to focus the story on a younger Nathan Drake, who's being played by Tom Holland, and Holland even dunking on his own performance, and the highly questionable casting of Mark Wahlberg as Drake's mentor Sully, this feels like a case of a movie studio taking advantage of a merchandisable IP without wanting to actually translate it faithfully to the big screen. Honestly, the most Uncharted appropriate piece of casting is actually the one that nobody's talking about, and that is Antonio Banderas, who's been cast in the film as a character assumed to be the villain of the piece, because he's really the only announced cast member who would even remotely embody the typical Uncharted baddie. Though he was thoroughly wasted as the antagonist of the recent The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, it's easy to picture him hamming it up as Uncharted's greedy, scenery-chewing villain. The idea of his megalomaniacal plans getting foiled by this pesky runt version of Nathan Drake could be a lot of fun, and as such, he could very easily wrestle the film away from both Holland and Wahlberg. Number 5. Jessica Chastain, The 355. On paper, this ensemble action flick offers a lot to be excited about, namely an all-star cast including Jessica Chastain, Penelope Cruz, Diane Kruger, Sebastian Stan, and Edgar Ramirez. However, a closer look confirms that this big-budget blockbuster has been co-written and directed by Simon Kinberg, who famously dropped the ball with the bust that was Dark Phoenix back in 2019. That, and, well, the trailer doesn't exactly tease out a quality motion picture, does it? But a sliver of hope does emerge that the cast will help elevate this ropey material, especially with Jessica Chastain, unquestionably one of the finest actors of her generation, being the leader of the group of international female super spies. Chastain tried her damnedest to boost the recent action dud Ava, with wildly mixed results admittedly, and hopefully she'll be able to be the glue that holds the 355 together, lending it gravitas that it would otherwise lack with another actress playing the part. Number 4. Mads Mikkelsen, Fantastic Beasts 3. The third Fantastic Beasts film wrapped shooting earlier this year, and fan expectations are understandably shot for two major reasons. For starters, The Crimes of Grindelwald was a flabbergasting disappointment, and secondly, Johnny Depp was asked to leave the threequel after losing a high-profile defamation lawsuit alleging that he committed domestic violence against Amber Heard. The dismissal came after Depp had already shot a scene for the film, leaving many fans furious that the series' overarching antagonist would now have to be recast, but that fury was quelled somewhat when Mads Mikkelsen was revealed as his replacement. Mikkelsen, a master at playing slimy villains, is nothing if not a fitting replacement, and given Grindelwald's ability to change his own appearance, there's even a baked-in way to explain why he looks different. Now, it'd be daft to expect a good film overall, but with Mikkelsen recently promising that he'll deliver his own interpretation of the character rather than simply imitate Depp's portrayal, he'll hopefully give an expectation-defying performance that injects the series with a refreshing burst of vitality. Number 3. Kaya Scodelario, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. It's tough to know what to make of the upcoming Resident Evil reboot Welcome to Raccoon City, which on the one hand will be hewing much closer to the video game source material, but is also being written and directed by the frustratingly inconsistent Johannes Roberts, who made The Strangers, Pray at Night, 47 Meters Down, and F. Leaked set photos suggest that the production is attempting to faithfully replicate many key monuments from the first two games, namely the Spencer Mansion and the RPD building in particular. But perhaps the most encouraging announcement so far is the casting of series icon Claire Redfield. Claire will be played by none other than tremendously talented Kaya Scodelario, who stole the show in Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales and was terrific in the recent thriller Crawl. There's plenty of solid casting to go around, but given that she has been given top billing, it's safe to assume the film will unfold from Claire's perspective, as it did in one half of the second Resident Evil video game. And so, no matter how the movie turns out overall, it's likely that fans will receive a superior portrayal of Claire compared to her, let's just say, middling depiction in the previous W.S. Anderson films. Number 2. Woody Harrelson, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. The original Venom is such a ridiculous, uneven film that it was at its best when it just leaned into the buddy comedy absurdity of Eddie learning to live with his murderous symbiotic companion, Venom. Many also took delight in Woody Harrelson's thoroughly silly mid-credits cameo as imprisoned serial killer Cletus Cassidy, setting up his reappearance in the upcoming sequel where he will become the iconic supervillain Carnage. From what little we've seen of Harrelson in the part, it seems like he's going to hold nothing back in giving us a pedal to the metal antagonist. And given that the villain of the first film was, well, pretty weak, hopefully Harrelson goes full tilt wacko and keeps the film's energy levels up, even if the script probably won't give him a ton to work with. And number 1, Matthias SCHWEIGHOFER, Army of Thieves. Considering the intensely mixed response to Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, you can't really blame people about being skeptical about Netflix's attempts to build a wider franchise around the zombie movie. But months before Army of the Dead had even been released, the prequel film Army of Thieves had already completed principal photography, inviting accusations that the streaming platform was trying to force a cinematic universe before audience interest had even been properly gauged. But those fears were put to rest somewhat when it was revealed that the prequel would revolve around Army of the Dead's breakout character, the wisecracking German safecracker Ludwig. Given that Ludwig was by far the most entertaining character in Snyder's film, him leading a years earlier heist comedy actually seems like a pretty inspired idea, and the recently released first trailer certainly backs that up. As dubious as a series of Army of the Dead adjacent movies seems, seeing Ludwig once more will ensure that even many who were lukewarm on Snyder's film will give this prequel a go. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 actors who might save upcoming movies. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice. That's Dice with a C, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. I hope you're treating yourself well, both mentally and physically, because you deserve love, happiness, and respect. We all do out there, and do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise, alright? You're a massive ledge, and I want you to go out there and smash your life goals today. I believe in you. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.